Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ramblings from the Little Shed. On today's episode, we have a special guest. Her name is A-M Mawhiney. And I met Anne-Marie at a writing retreat last fall, where we spent 4 days together. We wrote, we talked, we critiqued each other's work, and we had such a wonderful time. And I'm so happy to have you here as a guest on our show, Anne-Marie. Welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you. I'm really thrilled to be here. And that writing retreat was for me a key point in writing of my last book because I had spent the summer completely, I can't say blocked the way people talk about writer's block, but I wasn't sure I could write the book the way I wanted to write it. And I had taken the summer off to figure out how I could. And that unlocked a lot of things that retreat and meeting everybody who was there and you. We've become friends over the last year. It's really great to be here.
Oh,
And
It's so lovely to meet you. And I can't believe because I heard a lot about the rewriting, not a lot, but I was talking to mom while she was at the retreat and after. And I can't believe it's already been since last fall. That's
yeah,
feels like just yesterday I was hearing about this, but it sounded like an incredible experience. I'd love to try something like that one day. I don't write a ton, but I still keep in touch with it here and there. But that I feel like that would be like the thing that I need to reignite that for myself and to meet some more creatives and talk about it. And yeah.
it was fantastic. And let me inspire you, Rogan. I wrote in elementary and secondary school and stopped writing for 50 years
Hmm.
before I picked it up again during the pandemic. So you might write a little bit right now, but you never know what's in your future when it comes to creation and creativity.
shout out to Rekindle Creativity. They are two wonderful women who have put together these retreats. And without them and without the retreat, I would have never, well, I may not have never met you, but it was the catalyst for us meeting, and I'm pretty grateful for that.
So
And
am I.
your feedback. Yeah, I remember your feedback. And you gave me the nod, like, you could hear the dog's voice coming through my writing, and I still
Mhm.
remember that when we were sitting on the couch. So let's get into this conversation. We have a lot to talk about with, your dog, who is no longer with us, but we
That's
are here
right.
to remember him and talk about all the wonderful things about Charlie and who he was and how he influenced your creativity. So take it away, Anne Marie. Tell us all about Charlie.
So a friend of mine a long time ago lost a dog, and I quite insensitively I realized that, well, in another couple of years, you'll get another one because he had a history of always having a dog. And he said to me, this dog was special. I loved all my dogs, but this one I'll never replace. And I kind of was skeptical about that at the time, but Charlie is that dog for me. I had a dog growing up, Tipper. I had a kind of crazy Irish setter who I adored named Brandy. And then I had a dog, a mixed breed called Snub. I adored them, but with Charlie, there was a deeper connection.
Hmm.
And there's an interesting story about the beginning of Charlie's life. And it is, he was a rescue, his mother, Izzy, was a rescue dog out of Ohio. And a place called Barclays Animal Rescue out of some of them were in Guelph and some of them were in Port Credit, brought Izzy to her foster home, and she delivered 10 pups, like, within 24 hours. 10 pups.
Wow.
And she was a small lab-looking dog, and she delivered 5 golden-colored dogs, 5 black dogs with an overlap of 50-50 gender, very equitable.
Mhm. Seems
Um,
like it.
and the dogs, Charlie had short hair like a lab, but the snout of a retriever and the personality of a golden retriever. So I first discovered Charlie on Facebook with my nephew filming him draped across his lap sitting on the floor. And in the background, I could hear his then girlfriend, now partner, shouting at the other dog because she was racing all over and Charlie was just draped lying there.
Hmm.
And I asked their personalities, and she said Charlie's laid back, quiet, um, just really, really adorable. And the one that would become known as Tassie was a diva and very active. They lived on a farm, it was a perfect match. So I kept watching, and my partner and I talked about it, and we had to go down to Port Credit, a long one-day drive and back, to pass the test. I'd filled out the forms, I passed those, and down we went, and Charlie totally ignored us, and all the other dogs were being friendly and everything, and I wanted Charlie, but they were really matching, and they did a great job with everybody, and eventually I said, "I haven't seen Charlie," and Ashley put him in my arms, and he came home.
Oh.
Well, it turned out that Charlie at 5 o'clock would wanna play, and I'm sure that was a playful time with the litter, and he
Mhm.
was rough. I had bruises all up and down my arm,
Mm.
his mouth was a hard mouth, and, he kind of slammed into me the way he played with other dogs, and it was rough going till I got that kinda shaped into something more civilized. And when I would walk him, because he had, people adoring him everywhere, he'd lunge at everybody thinking, "Here I am, come and love me." So, it took a little bit of reining in that puppy enthusiasm. Um, Soon when we went for walks, he knew to sit when people approached us. It was just a lovely, lovely time, and we'd play indoors and outdoors, and otherwise, he was a fairly quiet dog.
So did you have to train him or was he just a natural?
It's interesting for certain things like walking in a civilized fashion,
Mhm.
um, he needed training and reining in a little bit. But indoors, he was the perfect dog once he got past the chewing stage, and he
Mm,
Yes.
didn't
mhm.
chew very much, just a little bit of wood down at the bottom of the walls.
Mhm.
Unlike Brandy, who chewed everything, like, chewed a quilt, chewed one of each of my shoes. Charlie was quite civilized,
Mm.
but I start to notice some interesting things, one of which took me a long time to figure out what was going on. Very cooperative on a walk, on a leash, and then all of a sudden, he'd sit down and he wouldn't move, and I couldn't use treats, I couldn't find any way to get him to move, and then somebody'd walk by, and then he'd get up and we'd walk, and after a while, the pattern was clearly somebody was coming up behind us, and he was kind of half watching them. And once they went by, we were good to go.
Was he just a puppy or
Well, it started and I thought it was stubbornness, right? And I bet he was over a year before I figured out the pattern, because people walk back and forth, and I was used to that and I didn't connect it. The year that we adopted him in January 2010, I was on a sabbatical. So I still was doing academic writing, and I'd come up into this room, which is like a studio where I used to paint before I started writing, and I'd do my work.
Mhm.
And he'd come up and he'd lie down with a kind of grumpy sounding moan, and I'd work, and then he'd nudge me and we'd go out. Then one day he wasn't here, and I went looking, and I went downstairs, and he was curled up on the couch where we watched TV.
Okay.
And when I came down and looked at him, he looked over at the other end of the couch and just stared at me. I went up and got my laptop, went downstairs, sat on the end of the couch, ordered one of those lap desks.
Right.
And although I have this room up here, that's where I did the bulk of my writing with Charlie at my side. I could reach over and pet him and kinda get focused and calm. He'd bump my leg or woof once, he wasn't a barker when it was time to go out, and we structured our day together. He told me when he needed breaks,
Mhm.
and then he kind of intuitively knew when I was reaching maybe it would be the end of my rope, but I always had an intensity when I was working
Mhm.
and would kind of stretch the amount of time till I was exhausted, and he stopped that from happening.
Sounded
Um
like he would tell you when you needed a break.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then every so often, I guess when he sensed it, he'd go get a toy, and that was playtime, and we'd be playing and laughing, and it was no longer bruises, it was all just
Yeah.
normal dog play and running around, and I'd put out treats and hide them, and he'd go find them, and then I could go back with a renewed energy to continue whatever academic project I was working on.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
For the dog to have such insight, but also for you as the human to recognize that he had a special talent. You know, he had this innate ability to sense everything around him. So, can I ask you, did you
Mm.
incorporate him into any of your books?
The first 2 books I wrote, the first one was during the beginning of the pandemic. And it wasn't till after it was published and I kind of read through it and I thought, how is it that Charlie's not in this book? And
Mhm.
how is it that no dogs are in this book? But Charlie is in the 3rd book,
Right.
uh, Fugitive Rifts,
Mhm.
and plays a very similar, intuitively calming people down and kind of pulling them out of angst role. And he's partnered with a border collie named Tipper, who was the pup my family had when I was growing up. So Charlie could be very playful, he could be very calm. I had a couple of interesting things happen during the pandemic, so I'd take him around the block several times because although I had a fenced-in backyard, he missed our routine.
Of
Mhm. For
course.
Uh,
sure.
all dogs would, but with him, it was like I could set a clock. I didn't need a watch when
Hmm.
I was on sabbatical or after I retired. He structured the routine. But one day when I was writing Spindrifts, because he did have such good situational awareness, I would pay attention to cross streets, but otherwise he just kind of not quite herded me, but, made sure that I got where I was going along several different routes, and he chose which way we'd go. But one day, I was really mesmerized by something in the book and, kind of entered the world while I was walking, which is never a good idea. And all of a sudden, Charlie jumped and landed on me up here with his paws, and I stopped. He hadn't done that since he was a little pup, and by this point, he would have been 3 years old, and then I looked to my left. I was entering a roadway, and there was a speeding car right there, and
Oh,
he stopped me.
Wow. Wow. I can see why you were so fond of him. I wish we could tap into their what's going through their minds, right? Like, I wish they could just tell us, "This is how we do it." They have these secret skills that we will never know. I suppose never say never, but they say someday we'll be able to talk to dogs.
We had a reunion with 5 of the dogs. I think they were 3 or maybe 5, and we got talking. "Does your dog wanna play at 5 o'clock?" "Yes." "Does your dog do that, come up and you pet them ahead of the tail and they do a little dance?" "Yes." And as they all aged, we would some of us were on Facebook, and they would announce that, they had gone to the Rainbow Bridge, and I observed because I knew that Charlie was totally bummed out. He
Mm,
had a day
mm,
where he just moped and wasn't
mhm,
himself, and it happened with 4 dogs
mhm,
over a couple of years, and most of them, the ones that we're in contact with, had liver and kidney issues, and that's what
mhm,
happened to Charlie as well.
hmm,
Um, I still kind of look for him 2
mhm,
years after he passed, um, and I still find myself kind of sticking to the routine because it's a healthy routine. I think without Charlie's playfulness and me being able to pet him in the structure of, putting his needs ahead of my bingey needs to write, I think if I had just been on my own without him, I probably would have totally burned myself out. I would have
hmm,
gone days without eating properly or going for a walk to loosen up muscles and stretch. And in the book, it was so much fun to capture his friendly, happy, and very, very caring personality. Um, that the 4 I have 4 main characters in the 3rd book.
yeah.
Um And he touched every one of them at different points
But
and kind of helped them through things.
what a way to memorialize him and keep him in the thoughts of so many who will read your books. And speaking of which, you're very busy these days because you just released your third
My
third book.
3rd book.
Wrote all 3 of these books during the pandemic?
The first one, the first lockdown got my creative juices running because I needed to go to a place that wasn't doom and gloom and
mhm.
panicking us.
I
So
get
that's
that.
why I called it Land of Hope, which is kind of a, hokey place, but it
Okay,
was
we all
what
need a
I
little bit more
needed.
hokey.
Well, and my tagline was because we all need a little
Oh,
hope, don't we? The 2nd book I wrote in '22, still COVID
mhm,
intensive,
mhm.
but we could kind of go out a bit. I think part of that was the bubble phase, though,
Yes.
where you
Yes.
only had set
Yeah.
people. By the 3rd one, like, I usually take a few months off in between to really do the promotions bit. The 3rd one, I started to write in January '23. I had lost Charlie. Charlie passed away a month before the 2nd book was published, and I
Mm,
kept him on my bio because I couldn't bear to change it.
yeah.
Um, he's not on the 3rd bio, but he's in the book. That was
Mhm.
my compromise.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
That's a
so
fair compromise, I'd say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so the 3rd one is not quite post-COVID, but
Mhm.
certainly I had a more balanced approach to things in my writing. I would
Um,
even COVID aside, I probably wouldn't have gone on a writing retreat because it would have taken me away from these bingey kinds of writing phases. But with Fugitive Rifts, I found, in some ways the stories came to me more easily,
oh,
and I wasn't creating a fantasy world 50 years in the future that required a lot of thought. It's real world out in British Columbia with just one little element of made up science that
mhm.
maybe could happen someday, but hasn't yet, as far as I know.
Well, you've
Um,
certainly grasped the descriptions of the landscape in British Columbia. I've read your novel, and each time you would describe a place, it felt like I was there.
I have an aunt who lives in the Kootenay area.
Mhm.
Mhm,
One of my sisters and I go to visit her once or twice a year. She's 94, very healthy. We're just going because we want to spend time with her. And I love the landscape there. And I have
mhm.
relatives and have spent some time on Vancouver Island because the book, almost half the book is in the Kootenay area in an imaginary tiny community that's really based on the community where my aunt lives. But I didn't want people that were saying, "Oh, you got the street number wrong," or,
Yeah.
and then some of the stores that are in the book have closed down.
Mhm.
So I made up a name that they will still know it's their community. And
Okay.
I'm planning an event, next spring to bring that book into the community. I did some groundwork when I was out this summer.
Well, that's
Um,
exciting.
yeah,
What a great excuse to get to go and, field trip for research for the novel.
yeah, yeah. And it was unconscious, real yeah, sort of visiting and finding things over the years. Um, I couldn't situate this particular book in Northern Ontario where the other 2 could be seen to be
Mhm.
and inspired the world 50 and 70 years from now. But, uh, there's a disaster in this one, and I didn't want it to be
Uh,
here.
yeah.
Um, and the cousins that are living close to where the disaster happened will be unhappy with me, but it's fiction.
It's fiction, exactly.
You
I
can get
have
away
a
with more.
we can get away with more. Yeah, West Coast, that makes sense. I was gonna ask, I love fantasy, I love speculative fiction. Do you think you would have eventually came to that with those books without the pandemic, or was that really, like, the trigger for it?
Oh, the pandemic was definitely the
Yeah.
trigger for it. I started out in the lockdown, like I think a lot of people turn the TV on, watch the prime minister, watch all the ministers' numbers going up and up and up.
Oh,
W
gosh.
when like, I'm usually a fairly, sort of straightforward, um, leaning towards introversion. I can have social times, but then I'm tired, and I found myself talking back at them and kind of, you know and I thought, "Oh, this is not good. This is only week 2." And I took an old laptop that I had bought when I retired, 3 or 4 years before, and dusted it off, and I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna wind up journaling. That's not gonna do me much good." But what came out was the first sentence in chapter 1,
Mhm. Wow, there you
and
go.
it was, "When she awoke, it was with such joy in her heart." And I
Mm.
thought, "What? What's this?" And I've since been coached by many editors, but not anybody with that book that, "Oh, you don't start a book or a chapter with somebody waking up, like, get into the action."
Mhm,
Like,
mhm,
so the second line came out that her great-granddaughter was coming back from 2 years in an immersive kind of experience, and she and that great-granddaughter had a very special bond. And in some ways, that very special bond, and this might sound weird, was similar to the special bond I had with Charlie. And then it was like, well, I guess I'm back at fiction after 50 years.
Mhm.
Wow.
What kind of world is it going to be? And
Mhm.
then I thought about what my values are as a retired social work professor. And I thought, okay, so build a world that is as close to your ideal for the future. And then as I wrote, and then sort of you go back and you backfill because I was writing like an academic, which is not a style that a fantasy belongs to. So there were a lot more revisions with that book to smooth things. And I think in this one scene, why are they going there? The great granny's research lab used to be there, but like, what's going to happen? Why do this trip? And I got a spooky kind of vibe about something going on. It takes place in a defunct snow lab,
Mhm.
uh,
Mm. Sounds
and there's
familiar.
something going on down there that and when I had a flash of it, I thought, "No, we're not doing that. I'm moving on." So
Mhm.
I kept writing, and I came back to it and said, "Yeah, we're doing this."
Mhm.
Um
Mhm.
And it made the great grandma not look quite so admirable as we had thought up till then. And the same thing happened in the second book, where things got a little bit more dramatic. I'm a panster, so I'm never quite sure
Okay.
what's going to happen, but there's a climactic scene towards the end of the book. And I said to my editor, I think I'm over the top with this. My writing for those 2 books tends to be matter of fact and calming and because I needed that and I figured the
Mhm.
readers would too. But this scene was quite dramatic and chaotic, and she said, "No, in fact, we need to move it up 2 beats." And
Interesting.
and she had suggestions, not prescriptive, but what about this element that I think it'd be more consistent with your world building, which was a collective world with it full inclusion, both the first 2 books, inclusion, respect. Nobody commented on your appearance. I don't describe appearance in those 2 books, like respect, and we never comment on one's appearance or who they are or anything. In the
Okay.
second book, people come on the scene. We're not sure from where at first because I didn't know till I was halfway through the book, and they're trying to take things back to the what we might call the 1950s, and so there's a battle, and that's
Mm.
the part where I thought I had gone over the top, and she thought more had to happen, and
I
more
love
didn't.
how
Interesting.
I love how that's kind of like a interesting way to represent the world that you made in the actual structure and the meta narrative of your book, and that you are not the author penning descriptions of people.
Letting the reader take control and
Mm,
formulate those visions in their mind.
it's exactly what I
Mhm.
wanted to have happen.
Yeah.
And someday I'd like to meet with a group of people who have read them and said, "What came to your mind
Mhm.
Mhm.
with the characters?" I think that'd be an interesting
Yeah.
discussion.
See how it compares with whatever your vision or your vision wasn't. So,
Yeah.
I was
The
going to say you mentioned that at first maybe having a bit of a hard time coming away from that academic writing since that's your
Mhm.
background. I um, I got out of school 3 years ago. It's probably the thing that I had the hardest time with is coming into that more hard academic writing. I love writing code, but that's about it when it came to that stuff. So, were there, like, specific things that you tried or did to make that transition, or was it more of like a gradual switch that happened over time through revisions, like you said?
With a lot of help. So,
Yeah.
my first draft, I have, book club group of 3 friends, and they all were teachers. and 2 of them were English high school or elementary English teachers. So I sent it to them, and I suspect there was lots of chat that excluded me about the writing style. The academic writing is you state your thesis, you
Mhm.
support it, and then you reword the thesis, and I was doing that everywhere. So one of them, the high school English teacher, actually would read a chapter, walk me through it on the phone during COVID, and I'd make changes, like comments, and, then I revised it, and then another friend on the phone walked me through as well, and then I passed it on to a friend from the university, but not a professor,
Mhm, mhm.
who is a brilliant, marketer and conceptualizer, and she found a few other things, and so I had a lot of help with it, and I got so that I could see it as well. The second book, I could catch it
Mhm.
before other people read it,
And then the
and I
third was
think
just natural.
well, I think there were still a few places where
Yeah.
I'd say, "Oh, you already said that, so take that out,"
Yeah.
and it was the third one's a long book, and at a certain point, I edited myself 40 pages out of it,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
and
I could never.
and some of it was that sort of stuff. I did editing on Teams at the like, in my academic world, and when I think with that part of my brain, which is harder with my own stuff,
Oh, for sure.
it's easy to kind of know what to cut. So I took a break and I put that lens on and said, "You're not writing anything. You're gonna be cold-hearted and just, is this necessary for the story? Out."
Mhm. Huh.
Mhm.
40
That's a
pages.
great skill to have if you can manage that because I mean, I haven't really done too much of it myself, but I know I would have such a hard time with that. Such a hard time with that. Even just with like the papers I wrote in school, I would look at it for hours, just like, but I wrote this. Why
I
would I
really
get
like
rid of it?
that
You know?
sentence.
Yeah. So,
There was one chapter that I loved, but it did nothing for the
oh,
story,
yeah.
Mhm.
and it was telling, not showing.
Mhm.
I still have it on my desktop, and I'm thinking I might just put it in a Substack or something like that, um, but I have to look at it with that lens to see if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
That's a
Um
great idea, though, for a way to recycle some of the pieces that didn't make it in, but that really meant a lot to you as a writer because I know right now I'm in the editing phase and I'll read something, I'm like Rogan, "Oh, I really like that sentence, sounds so good," but really,
Yeah.
it brings nothing to your story. If we can shift to what's happening now for you, Anne Marie, I know you're really busy with your new book and you've been having these amazing gatherings where you bring people together to
Mhm.
talk about not only your book, but different issues that are going on. And are you working on anything else? Or are you taking a break from writing? No pressure here. Like, when's your next book coming out? But is
We
that
want
something
more.
that we want more?
When I wrote Spindrifts, I know we're not on film, but just
Mhm.
Mhm.
for Rogan.
The
Yeah.
colors
Oh,
are
awesome.
incredible.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, um, same designer for 2 of them, that was a different one. I was one and done. There, I wrote a book. I self-published through services from
Mhm.
Friesen Press,
Mhm,
and we're a good team, and I
mhm.
get to keep the same team so far. And then the granddaughters sat down and said, "You gotta write another one, and this one you need a dragon." One of
Mm.
them has always been really into dragons, and the
Must have.
other girl said, um, "And a wolf."
Oh.
Oh,
And I thought the first one is a futuristic fantasy, but it was Earth 50
Mhm.
years from now, so I had to come up with a backstory. And believe it or not, there's a dragon egg buried somewhere near here, in an imaginary volcano eruption that shot it out, and that one is more fantasy science fiction. The first one is science fiction with a fantasy bent to it.
More
The
grounded, though.
Yeah. In the 3rd one, so then I was done, and
Mhm.
I tied everything up. I have fans of those 2 books that say, "Please do another one," and it might happen, but
Mhm.
I have no plans. I wanted to write something completely different. And now to get back to your question, um, there's one minor character in Fugitive Rifts, Alice, who I love her character,
Mhm.
and we resolve enough of the mystery about her past that I think it would satisfy readers that, her arc is satisfactorily wound up.
Mhm.
But for me, I still have questions. So I sat down about 6 weeks ago, and it's through a child's voice, and it's dark, very dark, and
Oh.
it's, I believe, Alice's voice,
Mhm.
and it's describing something that happened to her, and I'm getting glimmers of what that might be. A couple of weeks ago, I wrote 6 pages, that could be the opening of Alice's story.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Stay
yeah.
tuned.
Well, at some point, I'll need a
Mhm.
beta reader
Well,
or
Yeah,
an
there you
Android
go.
reader.
got my number.
So
Now you
so
have 2
cool.
numbers.
So cool how to see how, like, these stories can come from different places with there's gotta be a dragon in it, and in this case, there's just something there with a character that, like, in you that you're like, "There's
Mhm.
I need to tap into that." And it
Yeah,
sounds like you did.
I'm not sure whether it's gonna turn into a thriller or if it's going to turn into something really dark and emotional, or whether at a certain point I'll think, "Okay, I've resolved it for me and nobody wants to read this anyway." But just exploring what might have led to the personality we saw in Fugitive Rifts with hints of in the book, it's not much of a spoiler, she's unhoused. And, we know that unhoused people have lived very hard lives.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to find out what all led to her winding up on the street.
Mhm. Well, it sounds like your intuition guides you through your process. You
Yes.
call yourself a panster, and I believe that, but you are very grounded in your intuition and a lot like Charlie,
Yeah.
who
Yeah, I
had
think
amazing
Charlie and I
intuition.
are similar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is an incredible story. Thank you for sharing Charlie's story, and sounds like
Mhm.
he really did influence your creative life. I mean, we could talk so much more about the artistic side of your life, and we've only just tapped into the author side, but, thank you so much for sharing with us and for sharing with our listeners. I'm sure they're gonna wanna pick up your novels after listening to this podcast, and we'll certainly list all of that in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
very much for this opportunity. Um,
we're the ones who thank you.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, these conversations are eye-opening, and we get to know each other a little bit more, and
yeah,
I'm sure it's not the last conversation we'll have on the podcast, so
it that would be nice. I'm more than happy to come back. And in
wonderful.
the meantime, we'll continue to keep in touch.
Not
Sometime when you're around and you have time, you could join us. We could set it up.
I would love that.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie,
Thank
and
you so
we'll
much.
we'll
It's
chat with
my
you soon.
pleasure. And I look forward to hearing all of your podcasts because I think you're really onto something here.
Thank you. That means a lot. All right, bye for now, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hey, Rogan, I have all 3 of Anne Marie's novels. Want to borrow
Good
them?
to know. I genuinely want to pick one of those up. That cover also was
Her
really, really
covers
pretty.
are
Ugh,
incredible. They all
yeah.
complement one another and they're all in the same color scheme. Even though they're not all 3 related, they are beautiful.
Hmm.
It's very striking. It really grabs you.
I've never
And her
read like a
story.
speculative fiction based in Ontario. Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
that's sweet. Speaking
They're
of
on. I've read the 3rd one just recently, and it was quite a read. Yeah,
awesome.
and I had the opportunity to participate in a gathering she had at one of the local eateries in our town, and what a lovely afternoon! Incredible, great discussion, and good food, good company.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And I mean it when that writing retreat did sound really fun and
it
nice.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I'll
One
tell.
day I'll
I
do
won't tell you that I might be going to another one in the spring with the same group. But
something.
let's talk about flannel. We didn't talk about that in our last episode, and I felt like there was something missing.
Something missing? Yeah. And then as soon as you
Mhm.
hung up, you're like, oh shoot. Yeah.
Rogan,
I
we
think
gotta
I've
follow
repeated
the
this one
list.
already. You got to follow the list. I think I've definitely repeated this mug. I mean, I only have a finite number of mugs, and I only have a finite number of plaids. So here we are. But it's the red and blue one. I love it very much. It's probably my favorite one that I own right now. It's very
Look,
saturated.
yeah, like it blends, like it just it shifts from one color to another without no beginning or end.
Yeah, you don't see
Ooh.
you see red and black a lot, but not necessarily red and blue, and so it
No.
makes me happy.
It's very interesting that you have a closet full of plaids and you're wearing
Listen,
the
no,
same
no, no,
one.
no. Let's clear the air here because yes, everyone knows me for having so. This is to all of you friends out there. You know who you are. Always complaining about all my flannels. I only have like 6 now. Okay, I am due for some more flannels, so do not call me out for having too many. Let's get that out of yeah. That's I've said my piece. I need more
That's it.
flannels.
We're going out and shopping
We're
because
going out shopping.
I'm visiting in Toronto again.
Yeah.
And what are you drinking this
I'm
fine day?
drinking some instant coffee out of my Tim Hortons mug because I didn't have time to make real coffee. But hey, we were talking before we started recording that apparently some instant coffee may have some what was it was more potentially healthy than brewed coffee. I need to
Hmm.
look into that. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people who swear by instant coffee. I'm not one of those. I have my backup instant coffee for moments like
Mhm.
these, but I'm usually French press for the whole day kind of thing. So
I mean, your grandpa used to drink instant coffee, hot water straight out of the tap, no sugar, no milk. I did not know what was happening. And I just always thought, wow, that takes a strong individual to get through one of those. It's not
I
something
do
I
black
could ever do.
coffee, but I don't think I could do black instant coffee.
Mm-mm.
No.
Maxwell House, I remember it. My plaid today, ooh, it's
Ooh.
country rose and gray. Are those the
Country
colors?
Rose?
I
Oh,
don't know
yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm
I'm
going
seeing the
with
pink.
country rose. Pink,
That is a very funny name.
but it's a soft, plushy flannel and it's super cozy.
People are going to be like, why do these two care so much about that guy just ranted about plaids for a minute. What is going
I
on?
know. Okay, well, we need to get to the heart of the matter on that one, but it's not going to be this episode because before we go, I have to tell listeners about something that Rogan. How should I put this? You entertained your mother with this
I did.
other
I really
kooky
did.
idea because she has to have her hands in so many different things. For months, I have been wanting to do mini pottery. I don't know if that's what you call it. Yes, I've watched Best in Miniatures on Netflix and CBC Gem. So I found this place in Toronto, and it's the Mini Pottery Studio, only one of its kind. Did we feel a little bit awkward? Yes. Did I know
Was
it
it
was date
was it a
night?
date night? Yes.
I did not know that. I didn't care. The lady
I
just
had a
told me.
feeling. I had a feeling going into it that this was like, yeah.
Well, when we walked in, and I was like, yeah, couple. It looks like, oh, they're holding hands. And I thought, okay, here we go. Forget about it. Let's just do it. She didn't tell me it was couples night. She was just hoping to get the last person in on
Mm-hmm.
the class. Anyways, doesn't matter. I am hooked. I love everything mini pottery now. So if you ever have an opportunity to check it out, do it. It was amazing. It was
Oh, the
fun.
studio was lovely. Yeah. And the
Oh,
course, like, she was really, really helpful and great and
she was,
knowledgeable.
yeah, knowledgeable. She was funny. She was so funny.
Yeah.
It was kind
God,
of like
my
a comedy
I was gonna say
routine at the same
my
time.
pottery was yeah, at times. My pottery would have been like a misshapen lump, and then she'd be like, hold on. And like she would just like put
Yeah.
her hands on it, take her hands away, and like
Yeah.
bam. Beautiful.
And
It's
at one
crazy.
point in the evening, the fella across the table called you out for making a Stanley Cup, which I thought was
Oh
cute.
no, that hurt my feelings. He was because I said, "Oh, it's starting to look Stanley Cupish," and then the guy from across was like, "Oh yeah, that's what you set out to do," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh no." So I expect to have a mini Stanley Cup in my room soon once it fires and
Yes.
and they glaze it. Can't wait. I'm such a fan of the NHL. Such a fan.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
notice our
watch
podcast
every
is not
game. I have every jersey. Yeah,
insert sarcasm here.
there it is. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we will leave each other, and you have to remember to pick up my pottery and bring it
Yeah.
home for Christmas.
Yeah.
That was another fabulous episode with Anne Marie, and I loved listening to her speak of her cherished fur boy, Charlie. Sounded like an amazing dog.
He really did.
All right. Shall we go to a
All
coffee
right.
shop?
Let's go to a coffee shop. I need to get not instant coffee.
I agree. I'm going to go have a latte. All right.
Instant coffee. Okay, disclaimer, instant
Oh,
coffee is fine. It's fine.
yes.
It's just
Yes.
not for me.
All
There.
right. Thank you, listeners.
Call me out in the comments. Thank you guys so much for listening.
We'll talk to you again next week. Bye for
Bye
now.
for now.